We find new species of reptiles every day, but what if I told you some breeders are making brand new species all on their own? Hybrid reptiles are a sticky topic. People like them, some people really don't like them, but at the end of the day, they are really interesting. Taking one species, breeding with another species, and making something totally different. A reptile hybrid. It's important to note this is very different than dogs. I get this analogy all the time. Dogs are the same species, they're different breeds. Akin to a dog and a wolf rather than a poodle and a German Shepherd. The fifth coolest hybrid, in my opinion, are Carpondros. Carpondros are exactly what they sound like. Carpet python and chondros, a chondro being a green tree python. This actually kind of makes sense. I know people in the carpet python and in the green tree python community absolutely hate this hybrid, but it's been done for a long time, and many times the offspring are, well, really great health. Keep in mind, these animals are from a very similar part of the world. Some locales of green tree pythons are from Australia, as are most carpet pythons. They're both arboreal, or at least semi-arboreal, and they're both pythons. I was perusing through Instagram and I saw on Jeff Lem's Instagram that there was a gentleman named Chris Jackson who produced them in the 1980s. Although the more research I did, the more that it said the first confirmed ones were in the early 2000s. But they are available basically everywhere. The whole point of the video is animals you can actually buy, not animals that have been done once or are kept under museum glass. You can find these right now on the internet for as little as $380 American dollars. They go all the way up to like $2,000 depending on how they look and how many generations, or not generations, but what the cross is and what the locale is, because the cool thing with carpet pythons is there's a bunch of different ones, and the cool thing with green tree pythons is there's a bunch of different locales. If you know what locales were used for the green tree pythons to make this hybrid, let me know in the comments section below. Number 4, ball pythons with several other snakes. Now the ones that I know of for sure, and I can kind of date back, are super balls, or people call them blood balls, which seems so uncomfortable. That is a blood python or Borneo short-tailed python. They're two different species, but they can be bred with a ball python to make a hybrid. But my favorite of all the hybrids in the entire world are Burm balls. This is exactly what you think. It's a Burmese python mixed with a ball python. And I wanted to dispel a myth here. A lot of people think that hybrid animals, the offspring of hybrid animals, are always sterile. This is not true. In fact, ball pythons crossbred with Borneo shorttails, or for sure blood pythons, have had several generations, up to 3 generations, so you can breed the offspring. The research that I did indicated that the very first ones to be done that are documented were in 2002, and then the F2, which is the second generation, was 2005. So we've been doing this for a really long time. The first Burm balls were created in 2007. Now, in my opinion, I think Burm balls are probably the best pet snake ever. Here's why I think they're so much better than super balls. Borneo shorttails or blood pythons are known for being pretty cantankerous. Not all the time, not always, but I would say most of the time you're more likely to get a more placid Burmese python, and ball pythons are pretty much always placid. Pretty much always, not always. And Burmese pythons are my favorite snake that there is that I can handle and have, and that's a really good pet, but most people don't want a snake that can get really big. So a good option here is to crossbreed them with ball pythons. They make healthy, viable animals that have pretty much the same care requirements except for the size of the enclosure. So this way you get a Burmese python and a ball python. So you're basically getting a big ball python with a Burmese python face and a little bit of the pattern. I think they're super duper cool. And I'm not going to talk about them on the list, but there are cat eaters and bat eaters. So big snakes that you can cross, Burms and retics or Burms with African rock pythons. And yeah, bat eaters and cat eaters are cool, but in my opinion, Burm balls are where it's at. In the comments section, you're going to see a bunch of people upset. You should never breed hybrids. And you know what? For certain animals, I kind of agree. I don't think you should breed dart frogs as hybrids because most of them, or a lot of them, we can't bring in anymore, or it's very difficult to bring in, or they could just shut it off at any minute. And if we don't have the pure-blooded localities or species inside of our collections in zoos and private collections, then they're just gone from the face of the earth. Same thing with tree monitors. There's a bunch of different species of tree monitors. Blue tree monitors, the McCrae, for example, Persinus are the green ones. I wouldn't want to mix those together, not because, oh, well, maybe a tsunami will wipe off one of the islands from the face of the earth. I mean, that's possible, but unlikely. More likely than that is Indonesia says we're no longer bringing any of these animals in ever, and then we don't have the pure ones in captivity. But muddying the waters is an argument you'll hear a lot. People will say, well, don't muddy the waters, then you can sell something that is pure to somebody who doesn't know, but it's not really pure, and that can happen, but not with burn balls. If you see a burn ball, you'll know what it is. If you see a cat eater, you'll know what it is. Number 3, sulcata leopard tortoises. I want to give them a name, but there's so lepcatas or leopards. There's so many different names for this. This is 2 species of tortoise that are sort of kind of similar, pretty big, that can breed, and this has been done. Now, what's interesting is when I do the research, it's hard to find when the first ones were ever done, but I'm gonna guess it's been going on for quite a while. I read between 2009 and 2014, but I'm gonna guess it was before that, and I've actually seen these in captivity. I know for sure these are real. I've seen them with my own 2 eyes in person and got to touch them. And if you see one, you know that something's up. Even if you don't know exactly what it is, you know it's not a sulcata or a leopard tortoise. Now, these 2 have very similar care requirements. They are both big tortoises, although sulcatas are quite a bit bigger. They have long lifespans. They need similar environments, so I don't see anything ethically wrong with doing this. In fact, I think they're kind of cool, and you can have a sulcata-ish that's, well, 50% sulcata, that's a little bit smaller and maybe easier for you to keep because you don't have a big enough space for a sulcata. As far as tortoises go, the big island tortoises, especially before we wipe them all out, we're hybridizing all the time. We've found hybrids of animals that are extinct. So a half extinct tortoise with an extant tortoise. Extant just means it's not extinct. It's in that area still. So keep that in mind. We're doing this in captivity, but in the wild, hybrids happen all the time. Coy dogs and coy wolves and wolf dogs and all sorts of different ones that I know I'm only doing canids right now, but I just want to show you B-roll of dogs because dogs are really cute. And the best way to make sure you don't mix things accidentally or just take care of reptiles properly is, of course, your record keeping. Record keeping used to be tedious, but for me, it's really easy because I use today's sponsor, Husbandry Pro. Now, I said sponsor, but I was buying Husbandry Pro. I was a customer before they ever paid me to talk about it. And the reason that I've never switched is because it's just the best. The customer service is great. It's easy to track your reptiles. You put them in the system, you log when they poop, shed, eat, whatever. You can even keep track of how many rodents you have in your freezer so you know when it's time to reorder because it'll give you a notification when you're low. And if you even forget when to feed reptiles because, you know, these ones feed every 10 days, these ones feed every 3 days, these ones, you know, you're gonna get a notification the day before if you set it up that way to let you know, hey, the berm's got to eat. It's time to thaw the pigs or the rats, chickens or rabbits or whatever it is that you feed. You'll get a push notification right to your phone. Plus, when you go to sell your animal, you can transfer it to another Husbandry Pro user so all your records go along with it, like transferring an iPhone contact to somebody else with an iPhone. Under 6 Reptiles is always free, so give it a try. And if you hit the link below, I've got a special offer just for you. Give Husbandry Pro a try. I promise you, you'll be glad you did. Number 2 is probably the coolest one, and one that there was one available when I started writing this video and it's since sold, boa condas. A boa conda is exactly what you think it is. A boa conda is a boa constrictor and an anaconda bred together. Keep in mind, these are both boa species. Anacondas are boa species, so in the comments, I'm sure I'll see, what about a python with an anaconda? No, you can't do it. From different parts of the world, one gives live birth, one doesn't. One's a boa, one's a python, would never work. However, with a boa, you could definitely do, and has been done. Crystal Palace Reptiles has done it. I think it was 2009 when they did it. I know I saw a post on the Reptile Report in 2017 about it, and that's what made me want to do this video 2 years before I even had a channel. Now, this was a Colombian boa, and this was a yellow anaconda. So could you do it with a green anaconda and get a bigger boa conda? Probably. Has it ever been done? Not that I can see. Let me know in the comment section, by the way, if you've seen any of these things that I'm saying I've never seen. So you have an animal that can be cared for properly without having a whole bunch of issues, because if you breed an animal like, I don't know, a desert animal with a tropical animal, that probably wouldn't go very well. Like, how do you take care of them? Or a super arboreal animal with an animal that doesn't like it as much in the trees. Like, for example, green tree pythons and ball pythons have been bred. I don't know how they've done, and there's not enough information, which is why I didn't include them. But from what I understand, the boa condas all do really well as offspring. I don't know if they're fertile or infertile, but if you do, let me know. I would guess that you could probably do this with other boa species too. A rainbow boa, for example, with a common boa or maybe anaconda. I'm not positive, but I assume that would probably be possible. Keep in mind, not a lot of people are breeding hybrids. There's sometimes money in them, but sometimes not. There's not the greatest incentive, and there is a little bit of push pushback from the community, so I think that we've probably not seen the last of brand new hybrids in the reptile community. And number one, probably the easiest one for you to get your hands on, crested gecko and Chihuahua gecko hybrids. Now, something I learned when I was researching this video is Saracenorum geckos, which are one of my favorite species, so underrated, and crested geckos have now hybridized, and you can buy those on the internet too. But Chewies and Cresties have been done for a long time, probably more than 10 years. On the internet, it seems like around 2005 were the first ones, and these ones also can breed back into, so they are not sterile. But by 2013, this has been verified that there were crosses that were second generation. So now you can have, you know, like a cross to a cross, or a cross to a full blown. So you have like 75% crested gecko, 25% Chihuahua, Chewy, or the other way around. What's good is they come from the same place. They come from New Caledonia, maybe slightly different locations, but from the same islands. They come from the same place that has the same insects and the same types of fruit, and they eat the same diet, and they need the same parameters, and I just see no problem with doing this whatsoever. Especially because you can tell when you look at one. I mean, Chihuahua geckos are quite a bit different looking than crested geckos, so I think this one is really cool. I love them both. So to have them both in one package, because crested geckos are a little derpy and they're like chill and they'll just kind of like walk all over you. Chihuahua geckos can be like that, but they can be a little bit more cantankerous, but to me, they look cooler. So when you put them together, you get a really, really cool arboreal gecko. Let me know in the comment section what you think is going to be the next hybrid, what is possible, and what do you think is on the horizon in 2026.